Cute.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Good stuff.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. You are watching Midweek Geeks. Wednesday, right? I said Wednesday. It's been a long week already. My name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have an awesome show scheduled for you as always. And with us, Kari.
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Just hanging out here with Hinata. She says hi. We're going to have some fun tonight, chatting about geeky stuff.
What's the cat's name?
Hinata from Naruto. So she's Hinata Hime because she's a princess.
Hanana Matata?
Wow.
Hinata.
Yeah.
Yo.
Hey, everybody. Sorry that you had to hear him butcher a name. but if you're a regular to the show, you're used to it.
What? Jesus Christ. Wait, I guess Yo-Yo's done. What the fuck was that? I like
You don't need to hear him speaking.
I like how you start off with, oh, it's just the middle of the week. Did I say Wednesday? And the name of the show is Midweek Geeks. First of all, God help anyone who is setting their calendar according to what you say the day is, just right off the bat. And two, Midweek Geek. I'm just going to go work week. Okay, ready? Leo, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Thursday. This is the day we're on right now. Wednesday. You got that, pal?
Got it. My apologies, Yo-Yo. I'm sorry.
No, we're all good.
I told him he was number one for you, Yo-Yo.
Hey, Tom Dog, how's it going?
Hey, Tom.
So today's full of bees.
Not the bees!
You all get bees.
That's the second Wicker Man reference for the day. Just saying.
Yeah, and that's probably too many.
Well, I mean, with the news, we have Barbie, we have Blue Beetle, and we have Baldur's Gate.
Those are
Cool.
all bees.
That's a
Brought to you by the number.
that's a videoing game, I think.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know shit when it comes to video games. You know, I'm playing like PS3 games on my PS5. I'm getting more use. I'm replaying Arkham fucking Asylum right now. Like I haven't beaten it 3 times beforehand. Like I'm sitting here like, where's the answer to the riddle? I'm like, oh wait a minute, I've already figured this out. It's like Groundhog Day playing this game for me. I'm like, how do I beat the Joker? Oh wait, that's right. I just beat the shit out of his henchman, and then pull him down with the back claw. that's it, man. Oh, but spoiler alert for anybody that's never played Arkham Asylum since it's been out since like 2012.
I only have a PS2, man. I can't do any of the fun
That's
stuff.
not my fault that you don't have something to play Arkham Asylum on. You got YouTube, don't you? Watch the story. Mark Hamill's the voice of the Joker. Kevin Courtney is the voice of Batman. I think it's Tara Strong as Harley Quinn in that game. I could be wrong.
Quite
I'm
possibly.
pretty sure.
Yeah,
Pretty sure.
But yeah, it's pretty good.
it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you did just want to watch like a video of like the through story that probably just shows like gameplay leading into a boss fight, it would hold up. It's written by Paul Dini, right? I think it was written by Paul Dini.
See,
stories
I've
of the
never
game.
played any superhero games, but it does seem that they've put a lot of effort into making really good storylines to go with them. So I might just take you up on just going through and watching the storylines for some of these games because
Oh, listen, there's something to it. I have no compunction in my life whatsoever to play Injustice, but I watched it as a fucking full-blown video on YouTube because that way I'm not contributing to that fucking game making any money whatsoever. I fucking hate Injustice. I hate it with the fucking passion, the burning passion of 1,000 suns.
That's a
I just
lot.
I don't like it. That's what I'm really trying to get that idea across here. No, sir. I don't like it.
did you read it?
I actually have downloaded it, but I'm loath to start it because as much as I like Tom Taylor altogether, I really fucking hate Superman being evil / bad guy Superman, and like that's the impetus behind an entire story. And also I fault that game for why so many people got their knickers in a twist when Zack Snyder's fucking Superman ideas didn't continue forth past Justice League or what have you, because they all have this idea that Superman's supposed to be some like absolutely corrupted or corruptible individual, and like that's the exact opposite of what makes him Superman. It's the idea that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Mhm.
But because of who Clark Kent is, how he was raised by Martha and Jonathan Kent on a farm in Smallville, Kansas, that's not a concern. You know, and that's what makes him Superman. He doesn't see himself as better than anyone. Yeah, Arkham Trilogy is getting a Switch release soon, and the cool thing about that is they're including all of the DLC, all the downloadable content for everything for all the Arkham games.
There's some good ones too.
How is
You
that
can
going to
get like,
play on that? Though?
yeah.
You
Well,
Yo-Yo is when you hit the power button. I'm sorry. I started saying it and I was like, no. I've been
be
doing
like
this
20 frames per second.
Well, I mean, they're making it specifically for the consoles that it's being done, and you know, we'll see how it works out. I
I
have
still
faith.
haven't seen Arkham City on it because I know Arkham City is available.
I have faith in Switch being able to make it good for what they have. I mean, I don't have any problem with Switch whatsoever, honestly. I've been going back and forth between that and my PS5 because I've had the Switch for a few years now, but the PS5 I had since earlier in the year, but I didn't set it up until I finally got a 4K capable television because like what's the point otherwise? I mean, really. Also, I really wanted to be able to watch UHD and come on, buddy. But I did just play. I bought and beat into submission the Disney Island Illusion or Illusion Island or whatever it is with Mickey and
oh, nice.
yeah, I got that for Switch and much to my chagrin, I thought it was going to be like, oh, whatever, I'll just play it here and there. No, I went full hyper focus on this. I was like, I have to beat this fucking game. You don't, you just avoid getting hit. You don't actually like physically harm enemies in it. You just have to like get around them and what have you. And when you get to the bosses, you just like move around on stuff that like falls on their head. You have to time it right. So I thought that was pretty smart. Like, you're not taking the classic Disney characters and making them like violent in any way. And it was a really good game. I mean, it's a side scroller. I loved it. It was huge too. Like, you start off in this one little spot and like the maps expand as you go. Obviously, like, you know, we're used to Dad going all the way back to like Zelda and shit. But then you can finally get like the full map of an area, and it's like, holy shit, look at all the stuff I missed. This was so much bigger than I thought it was. You know, it's kind of like South Boston. You're like, it can't be that big, and then you get lost there, and you're like, get me the fuck out right now. I don't want to be here. Why won't it stop? Every single time I think I'm about to cross the town line, it moves 10 feet that way. But yeah, it's really fun. And especially if you do have kids, I highly recommend it. But even if you don't, still way up there on my rec list. If you play it and you don't like it, then like, I'm sorry that there's a piece inside of you that's broken.
I've seen videos of it. It looks pretty good.
Well, yeah, you also have a co-host on one of your shows telling you to your face right now it's pretty good.
Well, fine then. Well, you know what I'm going to tell you is pretty good?
No, I don't. No, keep it a secret. Keep it a secret. Keep it
Because you know I swear everybody's gonna get hooked on this damn game. So I mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Baldur's
that's
Gate
fine.
3.
That's fine. If you were segueing into Baldur's Gate, I thought you were about to bring up something else.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it because I don't want you. Just talk about Baldur's Gate.
Yo, you gonna play Baldur's Gate?
I don't have anything at the moment that'd be capable of playing it. I don't have PlayStation because I know the Xbox release probably ain't gonna happen anytime soon because of their requirement to run on the One S.
Well, it's
or XS, whatever the lower powered console of the two. They require all games to run on both.
Whichever the shitty one is.
Basically.
I love it.
It's actually PC only right now.
PlayStation's coming out soon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just Xbox right now is probably not going to happen because of that requirement. Like they can't get it to play like consistently on the shittier of the Xbox, as we're going to call it for now.
The shittier of.
Who's producing it?
What is that?
The minds and imaginations of children all over the world. I have no idea. If you Ubisoft, I don't know. I got nothing. I got Square Enix.
Let's see. Developers Larian Studios.
Sunsoft.
Yeah, Sunsoft.
Maybe like Batman from NES in 1990.
Oh yeah. So I kept on. What's that?
Sorry. I'm a big fan of Faerun and D&D when we used to pen and paper it, so I like that setting.
Well, I think you'll really enjoy I kept on seeing videos pop up on YouTube. Like they knew I was gonna be interested in it, so they kept on like feeding me videos.
Yeah, you're their only demo. It's not like a range. They're like Leo Pond. This guy. We zero in on this one fucking dude in New England, and that's the answer to all our questions.
But I saw one video talking about how it's like a beginner's guide to D&D.
Fighting with the legends of yore.
But I only played it for maybe about 20 minutes, but it's pretty intense. You got to do like the dice rolls and everything, and
what?
Can you act? So you have to.
Man, it's so fucking intense. You have to roll dice. You fucking making a solid case for this game, Leo. It's D&D.
Well, I never
kissed a lady before. Nope. Woo!
I never played D&D before, like the actual like pen and paper. And
I've rolled an 18, which means I defeat you with my cloak of perpetual virginity.
Sorry, I'm just fucking around. Like, I'm a comic book nerd, so I get it. Like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, oh yeah, you like a bunch of guys fucking wearing tight clothes, jumping around, doing crazy shit. I'm like, Yeah, from what I understand, you also like football.
When they released like Lotro and DDO, D&D Online, they had it set up so you didn't actually roll the dice, but you had to be set up with your characters in correct formations for fighting because instead of it being one of those magic games where like World of Warcraft, if you cast a fireball at your enemies, your friends can be standing right on top of them and not get affected by it. But they made in those other games like, oh yeah, if your friend's standing there, they're totally getting hit by your fireball. So, and you had to flank people to get bonuses and stuff. So I like that they're kind of using it to teach people. That sounds like fun.
You ever
Yeah,
start off your D&D nights by like just lighting candles in a dark lit room and playing Everybody Knows by Leonard Cohen from beginning to end?
No, I haven't done
You
that
sh-
one yet.
Should give it a shot. Not because it's cool, just because it would really tickle me. I would really get a kick out of that.
We're going to be doing an online D&D game coming up sometime in the winter, and I will make sure our first episode we do that.
Well, I mean, it starts off with everybody knows the dice are loaded. Sigrid did a version of it for the theatrical Justice League movie.
I am a Leonard Cohen fan.
I'm saying it for other people in this show right now. Don't take offense to that, Yo-Yo or Leo. And Leo, take as much offense to it as you want. Yo-Yo, don't be offended. Leonard Cohen. He also wrote Hallelujah, guys. You might have heard
Stranger
Rufus
Song.
Wainwright's version of that. Never mind. No. Okay. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. You ever see the movie Pump Up the Volume?
No.
Why would you? Never mind.
Okay, I'm judging you both right now.
You guys should really see Pump Up the Volume. Christian Slater. It's actually really good. I hate black licorice, but that movie got me hooked on blackjack chewing gum. It's weird.
Just real quick on Baldur's Gate 3. I didn't play 1 or 2, but it's like real time when you're moving your characters around and investigating, when you're exploring. But then when you get close to action, then it turns into a turn-based strategy. So like if you come across something where you need to use like perception or something like that, then it'll pop up asking you what you want to do. And then based on your choice, then you got to roll the dice. And, based off your stats,
And that's
you'll
when
either
you grab
succeed
your
or not.
Pokeball and throw it on and say, Pikachu, I choose you.
That is very much
Wrong
like playing
RPG. I am sorry. I was way off. Whoopsie. I'm sorry. Lightning
roll
Rat. I choose you. I rolled 16. Yay. Critical hit. Right? I'm pretty close
D20.
to the mark on that. I'm close to the mark on that. I know I am.
There is no D16, Brandon. There's a D20.
But you can roll
You
a
can crit with
16.
20.
You can,
Yeah,
but
but
you
it's
can
critical.
roll a 16, right? That's what
Yeah,
I
but
was
it's not a
saying.
critical if you roll a 16. If you want the critical, it's a 20.
I rolled a 21 on a 20-sided die. Super critical hit. It's like a hit that also criticizes you. Like boom, and then it goes, you're an overweight bitch. What? I mean, yeah, but ouch. It literally adds insult to injury.
No, I want talking dice so bad.
That is a critical hit.
Oh, jeez. Well, we'll change the subject then.
I'm sorry. I mean, we're still talking about it, right?
This is
No,
fun.
we can move on. I'm only a couple minutes into it, but I'm enjoying it so far. So it's
Leo's like, I made it to where it says press start, and I was like, man, it's gonna be so fun playing this. And then he shut the system down.
Do you have to get to? Can you get it on like Steam or is it Steam?
Yep.
Yeah, I bought it on
Okay.
Steam, and I'm playing it on Mac right now.
Yeah, the
Okay.
PlayStation 1 comes out in September.
Yeah.
And Xbox
Okay.
when hell freezes over.
I was shocked when I saw it was for Mac. I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a try.
Meanwhile, Saddam Hussein and Adolf Hitler are waiting to pass out ice skates in hell.
Coming soon.net is saying that Blue Beetle is going to beat out Barbie in his first weekend.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
probably
Is that-
only
it's-
because Barbie's been out for, a month now or whatever.
I mean, that's not like breaking news or anything like that. Like,
Yeah, I know. For real, like breaking news. This just in. Blue Beetle is probably going to make more money in its opening weekend than Barbie in its 5th weekend. Also, coming up, water still wet.
Well, we know Keith Giffen won't be there, so he's not contributing anything to that.
Jeez.
I think the world will be okay. We'll make it through. Yeah, I mean, it's getting very positive word of mouth from critics right now, which is heartening. I haven't seen anyone call it the best DC film since The Dark Knight yet, so I count that as one for the win column. Because what
They've
a
said that
stupid,
about every
stupid,
DC one.
stupid thing to say. I actually have a much better vocabulary I could use to describe it, but saying stupid like 4 or 5 times right in a row, I think that sums it up very well. It's just an odd litmus. Like, yeah, hey, this is the best DC movie since that one that everyone said was basically like Heat for comic book movies. Oh, really? Heat? Okay, not wrong, but stop using it to compare to other fucking movies. Just say, and I'm not talking about Heat. I mean The Dark Knight. Like, that was such an oddly, and not in a bad way, but an oddly self-contained story with the 3 chapters that Christopher Nolan did. He gave Batman a beginning, middle, and end. And we don't see that very often in these superhero comic book styled movies. So holding that up against something that's supposed to be like a long-term continuing franchise that's going to have probably a lot more connections and bombastic activity than what we've gotten from the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, it's probably a little disingenuous. Nobody's breaking out the Dark Knight comparisons when we're talking about like fucking MCU shit. I mean, nobody's really talking positively about MCU shit right now anyway, but my point remains. So yeah, Blue Beetle, I'm going to see it tomorrow.
Yeah. So if you are going to see it, which you are, Brandon,
I am.
Apparently there are 2 end credit scenes.
I think there's a mid-credit scene and a stinger.
Okay.
Which mid-credits would be, just bear with me here, in the middle of the credits. Like the credits will start, and then all of a sudden you'll get a scene, and then the stinger is the term for what you get in the after credits, like after everything is rolled and you finally get to the American Humane Society. And this is, if it's a coincidence, if you see anybody's name who's alive or dead in here, we just pulled shit out of the ether. And no, we don't actually think that fucking Ted Smith got run over by some kid in El Paso or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right after
kind of
the
shit.
little
these characters
quote.
are fictional. Yeah, I never did get that in certain movies.
No animals were harmed in the making of this film.
But it's all hand drawn.
but it's hand drawn animation. Was that a concern before? Well, they did paint them with horsehair brushes. Monsters.
If you're ever curious about that before going into a movie, there's a site just dedicated to it, aftercredits.com. So it'll let you know, like, if you need it doesn't show them to you most of the time, but you can go in and check, and it'll be like, yeah, there's one here and there's one here, and this is what type it is, whether it's the stinger or the.
I have a site that I usually check. I call it Google. I just type in the name of the movie and after credits. Boom.
Oh, friggin' Google. Speaking of that, in doing research for tonight and trying to get images and everything, if you Google Barbie movie, it like turns pink and like does these like fireworks.
Yeah, we're up.
Well, now I have to check.
It only did it once for me.
Barbie
when I tried to go back.
Movie. The Google. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh shit. Oh shit, son. All right, cool. Yeah, the word Google is straight up pink, and then there's like it's like a pink or
See,
magenta tint over the entire screen, and it definitely did sparkle. It looks like I can make it sparkle again. I can. There's a button. You want me to show you?
I just got it to happen again. Yeah.
No, I don't like the flashes, actually.
Avert
No, you can show it.
your eyes.
I
Oh,
showed my eyes.
what? Oh, geez, I go dark mode, man. You're crazy with all this bright white bullshit.
I don't like that.
It's the button at the bottom, genius.
Oh,
Right.
I guess that's not too bad on the white one.
Yeah, it does
Yeah,
it on the
hold on.
mobile side as well.
Yeah, hold on, Leo. Let me show mine right quick. Share screen. Let me get rid of my email inboxes because nobody needs to see that. Okay. Yeah, so you see, it has like a pink tint over everything. Yeah, Google. Barbie movie. Then it does this. Doo-loo-loo. I feel like I'm watching the beginning credits to Bewitched. Fantastic. All right. But yeah, so you see the pink tint all over mine, but I didn't see that on yours, Leo.
oh, it was there.
Oh, if you say so.
I do say so.
Sure. I'm agreeing with you, buddy. If you say so. Yeah, I will say though, I mean, I saw Barbie in the theater. My wife and I went, and I very willingly and excitedly went to go see that movie. I've been waiting to see it ever since I heard that Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach were the ones that were writing the script together and that she was directing. Once that was the case, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be like a pretty good movie. And then Margot Robbie signed on to play Barbie, and I was like, yeah, I can totally dig it, because Margot Robbie, I think, is a pretty talented actress, and that was an opportunity for her to do the exact opposite of what Harley Quinn has done in the movies, which is a damn shame, because they definitely set the tone with Suicide Squad, the first one that came out. They just over sexualized her character altogether, and I think Margot Robbie, interviews I've seen with her, she strikes me as like a very, very kind, quiet, smart individual. And to be able to play a character like this must have been, one, fun, but also the responsibility must have been palpable for all the parties involved, because you want to make it so that it is accessible, especially to young girls, but you want a wider audience to be able to enjoy it and get some good points across without being preachy. And I think they nailed it. And anybody who's upset over it, like, go pound sand. Like, too bad. I think after the movie has hit over $1 billion, you're in the minority on that one.
So hold on, there's people upset about.
Oh yeah, yo, absolutely.
I think my life would be better not knowing why.
I mean, it's a lot of the same people that get upset over anything having to do with somebody else that's not part of their group getting something, even though it takes nothing away from them. You know what I mean.
Unfortunately.
We all know what I mean. Unless we don't.
So if you didn't get a chance to see Barbie in the theater yet, or are not going to the theaters because you don't like the theaters, Barbie is coming to VOD a lot sooner than expected. It's due out September 5th.
Yes.
VOD.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna buy that one physically, because I really want to see what the case is gonna be like and what have you. I think that one's worth owning physical media. I'm gonna be trying to do the same thing with a lot of stuff coming out, because I've actually been seeing lately too that things have been getting pulled due to licensing agreements that people have paid for in their digital libraries across different platforms.
That's why I don't like digital for everything. That's why
Well-
like I have a digital and a physical copy of anything I really like. Digital for
Yeah.
the ease of use, and physical just in
Digital
case.
digital is not just a matter of ease, like, you know, ease of access. It's for me, it's a matter of space as well. And I mean space is in like the amount of space I'd need to put those things, not like you know, Stanley Kubrick, A Space Odyssey type shit. that would be fucking trippy. That being said, I do have a room 237 key right here. But yeah, I do think that it's gonna be I might actually get the steelbook on that when it comes out. I'm really curious to see how they're gonna do pink steelbook, because I mean, if they don't, why are you even putting it out physically? I mean, why do it? But like I mean, there's certain things like the Flash. I have set up to get physically once it finally releases. Blue Beetle, I'm likely going to get physically. You know, that the movies that I really give a crap about. I mean, and it doesn't have to be a new movie either, really. I mean, I just bought My Best Friend is a Vampire on Blu-ray because if you've never seen My Best Friend is a Vampire, you should do yourself a fucking favor and see it. It's it came out in the 80s. It was sort of like around the same time, same vein, no pun intended, same vein as Once Bitten, starring Jim Carrey. I prefer My Best Friend is a Vampire. And funny enough, in it, it actually has the girl from Pump Up the Volume in it, which I mentioned earlier, Cheryl Pollack, the one that the Robert Sean Leonard from what is it, like Swing Kids and Dead Poet Society? What was he on? House, I think, House MD for several years. He plays the titular vampire, and the girl he likes in the movie, the character's name is Darla, and she's played by Cheryl Pollack, who plays like the kind of troubled, like, rich girl in Pump Up the Volume. She like throws a bunch of spray cans into a microwave and almost like blows up her house at one point in the movie in Pump Up the Volume. But it also has Rene Auberjonois, who any Trek fans would know as Odo from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Disney fans
Or
would know
from
him.
Benson.
I don't know that a lot of Star Trek fans would know him from Benson, but if you say so.
Of course. That's why
Yes.
you
There's a lot
watch
of correlation
DS9.
between the two.
Benson, that's true. I completely forgot about Benson. He also was the voice of the French chef who was trying to murder and cook Sebastian the Crab in the Little Mermaid cartoon. When the and it's gonna be hot in my big silver pot. That's Rene Auberjonois. And he plays like the mentor vampire in My Best Friend is a Vampire. But in that, the mother of Robert Sean Leonard's character wrote the book Fried Green Tomatoes that the movie was based on. And Cheryl Pollack's mother in that movie, My Best Friend is a Vampire, is played by Kathy Bates. So the woman who starred in the movie adaptation of the author's book, both of them are in the same movie playing the parents of the two romantic leads. Just Hollywood's such a small world, kid. The kid with the glasses also played in Stuart Little. Jonathan Lipnicki?
Yep.
Are you thinking of the little vampire? Because I'm talking about My Best Friend is a Vampire. I think the Little Vampire was a movie starring Jonathan Lipnicki as a little vampire. Which
That's
a cute movie. It is a cute movie, but yeah, My Best Friend is a Vampire is a very different flick. Very different. It's a teen 80s horror comedy. It's a lot of fun, but you know, just recently released on Blu-ray, and it's one of those things where if you can get stuff like that especially after some of the things I've been seeing this week. Do yourself a favor. If there's movies and what have you that you really do cherish and you want to be able to hold on to and access whenever you truly want, get it physically, because there's a lot of fuckery going about.
The
Like what?
thing with the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse coming out on digital, and they just changed a bunch of lines and just took random stuff out of it. People
Well,
are getting really
from what I
upset
understand, it's not that they changed a bunch of lines. It's that it was sort of like
Different theaters had different versions. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, there was sound mix problems with a lot of the copies that they sent out. They basically sent out a beta, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we'll just patch it." Like that's basically what they did.
Well, I saw that they actually changed scenes. Like different parts of like the multiverse, like minor differences.
Maybe, I don't know. I finally watched it because I did pre-order that digitally. Oh, no worries, Angela. I completely understood where you're. As soon as I saw the kid who played in Stuart Little, I'm like, vampire, Stuart Little, the little vampire. And the thing is, I've never seen it. I've seen bits and pieces. I think it's just a holdover from when I worked at either the movie theater or Blockbuster Video. I did both. I was that fucking kid. But yeah, look it up. Look up My Best Friend is a Vampire. Robert Sean Leonard is the star. It also has Rene Auberjonois in it. It's enjoyable. Keep in mind, it is a very 80s movie. Like, I can't explain why these kids needed to drive on the highway past the city to get to high school. But hey, there it is. But yeah, I just saw Across the Spider-Verse last week. And yeah, it was good. I don't think the next movie is gonna necessarily set the world on fire, though. I think I hope it does. That's the thing. I really want to see it do well, but at the same time, it's tricky when you end a chapter like that and it's straight up to be continued. It can either live up to or surpass, or more than likely just kind of fall flat. When you have a trilogy and your second part, isn't a Back to the Future movie, and you stick a to be continued on there, you're really rolling the dice like it was the first level of Baldur's Gate 3. Which is undoubtedly the thirdest of those games.
Part 2 came out like something like 20 years ago or something like that.
Baldur's Gate 2?
A wicked long time ago.
Sounds like they've had plenty of fucking time to make this third one just right. Just me. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Came out in 2000.
My God. But yeah, did all of you see Barbie?
Nope,
not
I
yet.
haven't yet.
See,
Just
it would just be
cool.
weird
So-
if I go to the movies to see Barbie by myself. So
I mean, not really. Personally, myself, I don't pay attention to anybody in the movie theater. Like, I try not to, because if people see me, they might want to talk to me. And I don't want that. I'm there to sit in a quiet, dark room and look at that giant rectangle the same you are, hopefully. Let's just do that and not ever introduce one another to ourselves. Like, that's fine by me. No names required. No names, no formal contact, nothing. You know what? Pretend I'm a stranger and just don't engage with me like a normal person, right? I think that's a fair question to ask when I go out in public. Like, listen, I'm not bothering you. I'm trying to let you live your life. Just fucking do the same for me, man. I just can't. I'm a fat guy and they sell Milky Ways here. Just let me do my thing.
with
point out some comics that I got.
Like, oh, you like Milky Ways? Let me tell you about the time I had my first one. No, Enos, I do not want to hear about what it was like when they invented chocolate in America. Well, I'll tell you, it was a lot sweeter back then. It was not a lot sweeter when the Aztecs fucking had it, you old motherfucker.
When Phil's group from Dark Discussions was down here, I go see whatever they're going to be watching. So they watch a movie, then do a podcast about it. We ended up seeing the last voyage of the
Demeter.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was a vampire movie on a ship in a stormy ocean.
Yeah. I mean, I like, period piece movies. So that part was, pretty cool, but yeah.
I really like how it took place in the past.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then there was all this vampire stuff and old timey ship talk. And I don't know. I guess it had a guy from Game of Thrones in it or something. I don't know. It looked to me like he was trying to do an impression of Robert Shaw from Jaws. What the fuck do I know?
We need a bigger boat.
You're gonna need a bigger steak.
Angela says, I went and saw, I thought I was going to make fun of it, but I saw Barbie, but I'm waiting for the movie called Talk to Me.
Yeah, I mean, Barbie's great, man. And the last line of the movie, I almost fucking pissed my pants laughing. It was fucking great. I'm not going to tell you what the last line was, and nobody should tell you. It is perfect for the lead up from the entire movie. It's not a callback to anything that you hear or see. It's just the most sensible thing. It's the most sensible thing, and it's just delivered, and it's the button that the movie ends on. I was like, I lost it. It was fucking funny. But yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. I highly recommend it. But Last Voyage of the Demeter, I haven't really heard much about it, honestly. I haven't heard good or bad. It's just kind of like been there.
Yeah, it's
I heard its name when I saw that you posted it.
Yeah,
that's
It's at least not trying to be a sexy vampire movie.
Oh no.
Which
they don't sparkle, so it's
Well, then count me out, motherfucker. No, honestly, there's a lot of stuff that I mean, I love vampires. I give me a good vampire, ghost, or werewolf story, and I'm in. Like, but I mean, I preface that like good. It's not you get an automatic pass because it involves one of those three things, one or more of those three things. Like werewolf, witch, ghost, vampire hunter. All right. What? I mean, kind of in. Tell me more. But
what about a werewitch?
A warehouse. Yeah. This summer, Realty bites.
But wasn't there a werewhale movie?
That sounds like the stuff nightmares are made of. Dream big, kid.
why.
Yeah, I thought it was werewhale versus octo shark.
Somewhere I would not want to be.
I want to be where the people aren't. But I will say this. Yeah, it is hard to find a good vamp story, but when you do, like, it's precious. You hold on to that shit. Same thing with werewolf movies, honestly. For me, like, one of my all-time favorites is Stephen King's Silver Bullet, based on his very, very short story that had illustrations by Bernie Wrightson called Cycle of the Werewolf. They adapted it. It stars Corey Haim, Megan Follows, who she's a Canadian actress. Anybody that is familiar with programming from like the 80s going into the 90s, she was Anne of Green Gables, which led to Road to Avonlea or Avonlea, depending on where you saw it. They used to show them on the Disney Channel every Sunday. My mother read all those books, and then we watched the shows when I was a kid. But Megan Follows is his oldest sister, is Corey Haim's oldest sister. Gary Busey is their uncle, and Corey Haim plays a young kid in a wheelchair in this town called Tarker's Mills. And the preacher in the town is played by Everett McGill from The People Under the Stairs and Twin Peaks. And it's really good. It's like far better than it has any right to be. But then like for every like American Werewolf in London or Silver Bullet, there's fucking Wolfen out there. So meh.
I mean, if I was fighting a werewolf as a kid, I would definitely want Gary fucking Busey on my side.
Yeah, I mean,
to push him in front of it.
Yes. I think he could do some serious damage.
He's got so much cocaine in his blood, it'll kill the werewolf instantly.
So I had the titles a little off. It's Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf.
Whale wolf.
Oh
no.
Just when you say something that takes my faith, what I think is my last little bit of faith in humanity away, you show me that, Leo.
If you do like the vampire stories, though, Brandon, I don't know if you've read Steve Van Samson's Predator World novels, the Bone Eater King and Meredith. Those are gorgeous.
I like Steve. I like Steve's stuff a lot.
Steve makes great monsters.
I posted the other day. I was like, straight up, and I stand by this. I just don't understand why in modern vampire movies, and I mean vampire stories that take place now, I do not understand why they can't see their reflections.
Yeah,
it makes no sense to me. Like as a little kid growing up, I was obsessed with those like old school monsters, and I remember reading as a kid that the reason that vampires could not see their reflections in mirrors is because they used to be made with a silver backing. So it was the silver that prevented them from being able to see their own reflection. Now aluminum is used. So there's no good reason for that to be the case. I mean, still have it be that silver hurts them, but like if you're having a tale for vampires set in modern day times, like modernity would certainly like dictate that they should be able to see it. And you don't have to get super meta with it, but you could very offhandedly, without like a whole shitload of exposition, have like a new vampire be like, why can I see my reflection? And have another vampire say like, what do you think this is, 1870? They don't use silver in mirrors anymore, shithead. It's all aluminum and highly polished. What do you think this is? And be like, so can video see us? Yeah, why wouldn't video be able to see us? Jesus Christ, will you stop watching all this bullshit Hollywood stuff? Like, because I mean that's the thing that gets me too is like Pat, our good buddy Pat over at Throwdown Thursday, he said like, they do a really good job with it in What We Do in the Shadows, which I love. And it was actually when I was watching What We Do in the Shadows that I thought of that. It doesn't make sense to me there either, because they can't see their reflection in the mirrors at all, not just in their own home, which you could say like, they have old stuff in that house. That's why. I'm like, okay, but when they go out and about, still not the case. But they still show up on video. It's like wildly inconsistent. Like, which one is it? So just putting that out there into the ether. So if anybody's out there thinking about making a vampire movie, just have them be able to see their fucking reflection. All right. It's that simple.
I think it would be a really neat move in a vampire movie to have like the modern vampires who are just used to seeing themselves after, because they've started in this era, and then have one of them or a couple of them be like at a ball at an old mansion where they have the silvered mirrors like they used to in the big ballrooms, and
Yeah,
suddenly freaking out because they couldn't see themselves and being
that
like,
could be your
it would be
explanation
cool.
right there. That
Or
could be
not
your
even
explanation.
freaking out.
Ooh,
Just like, man, this
what
stuff,
the?
this is such old
Well,
stuff.
you know,
It's like
Like,
nonchalantly, like
Yeah, they just be
nonchalantly
like, oh,
point
that's
out that's how old everything is in place.
yeah. Have them have their first reaction. Not be a freak out, but just like, oh, that's so crazy. They like went the extra mile and got like trick mirrors so we can't see our reflections, like we're like spooky vampires. And it's like, no, dummy. Like this is how these assholes lived for like hundreds of years when mirrors were made with silver. That hasn't been the case since like the turn of the 20th century. Consider yourself lucky. Like what? Like, yeah. Can you imagine what it was like trying to put on fucking makeup as a vampire when you were living in fucking Renaissance times? Good luck. You fucking restoration just before everybody's had their fucking heads cut off in France. Imagine being one of those vampiric assholes. Like, you would have to have a buddy to help you put on your rouge. Everybody winds up looking like Jigsaw.
Did you see them making a new Jigsaw?
yeah.
No. Nah.
I think I quit after 2 or 3.
Listen, if they're gonna make something that Lee Winnell had a fucking hand in making, can I just get Lee Winnell to make a like round out his trilogy of fucking sci-fi horror with what he did with Upgrade and The Invisible Man? Because I would really like that. Upgrade was incredible. It was. I don't think it's given as much credit as it should. I think Logan Marshall Green was outstanding in that movie. The way he moves as he acts in it is outstanding. And if you're not aware, it's very subtle, but there are references to the companies from both Upgrade and The Invisible Man in each one of those movies. So they are set in the same place around the same time. And I feel like there's got to be at least one more that he has in his back pocket that he's waiting to throw out. Have you guys all seen Upgrade? No?
I've
No.
seen it.
I
Let me
haven't
tell
watched
you, if you like the movie Venom starring Tom Hardy, you're wrong. You actually wanted to see Upgrade starring Logan Marshall Green. It's it's incredible. And for me, like, I don't do well with body horror, especially I don't do well with things happening that are absolutely beyond your control, especially if it's like something controlling you against your will. And that's 100% what Upgrade is. It's they essentially Alex Murphy this guy's ass. He doesn't get blown to smithereens or anything, but they force him into a corner, and he kind of like has no choice but to take the life raft they offer him, basically. And it's all downhill from there, baby. I just recommend it. And that recently was released on 4K. I do want to get that one physically. From what I understand, Lee Winnell does like a commentary on that one, which I would really like to hear. Something I really miss from DVDs from their heyday around the turn of the century, the aughts and what have you. All you kids, you don't know how good we had it back then. Special features up to wazoo. I had to remind someone recently about 13 Ghosts in that DVD special features. Like before they made the announcement recently that there's going to be a series, somebody really, a good buddy of mine, he and I get it. He rightfully was like, "Oh man, I would love to see them make a show, just like make it 13 episodes, like a sort of anthology, like limited series, but have each episode just be about each one of the ghosts that were there in the house in 13 Ghosts." And I was like, yeah, or you could just pop in the DVD where they give you the story of each one of the 13 ghosts. And he was like, oh shit, I completely forgot they did that. I'm like, everybody has. It's the only reason I even fucking liked the movie when I saw it. because I was like, this is kind of lame. And then I watched the special features. I was like, oh shit. And then I went back and watched the movie again. I was like, all right, you're actually not bad. I do think they missed out on the 3D craze with that one though, because like the characters have to put on glasses in order to see the ghosts and the hosts. Because that was a holdover from the original that it was a remake of. It came out when 3D was starting to be like the big thing in the 50s and 60s. They could have done a full blown, as soon as the characters put on the glasses, that's when everything truly goes into full 3D effect for the audience. But the technology wasn't there. We hadn't gotten Avatar yet, kids. We didn't know.
What?
We just didn't know. I know. Well, I mean, technically we had, but we called it Ferngully the Last Rainforest and it was animated with Robin Williams' voice.
Well, we did have Creature in the Black Lagoon in 3D.
I feel like you're missing my point altogether, but yes, we did, Leo.
So Kari, you had a story in the notes.
Yeah, yeah. This was fun. It made me think of Leo when I first read it, but just saw an article up. The British Film Institute was talking to Spielberg about how he made Close Encounters and where he came up with all of the research. And he just went through and grabbed clippings from the National Enquirer, tried to get into the Blue Book archives, but they weren't declassified, so they wouldn't let him in that. But he started talking to as many people. Yeah, I'm Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, nice try, kid.
But he says that he began to talk to everybody who had experience and realized that just about every fifth person he talked to had looked up in the sky at some point in their lives and had seen something. So he was like, they can't all be lying. There has to be some connection. And so he just started talking to all these different people to get information about it. And if you guys don't know, and this is something that I had to go over with my mom the other day, and so maybe not everybody knows it, but there are 5 different types of close encounters. And there's the first
And
kind
his
of-
movie was about the third kind.
I just wanted to clarify what they were. I'm not going to go on. But first one, you see a UFO. Second one, you see a UFO that leaves back behind some sort of physical evidence, like a scorch mark or tracks or something. Third, you can visibly see them on the UFO, aliens of some sort. Fourth kind is being taken aboard the ship and having conversations and things. And fifth kind is being tested on. But he went with the third kind and studied a bunch of different things. There was Leo's familiar with the Betty and Barney Hill couple. They learned about, they were like taught all this stuff and then kind of given amnesia about it, and then later came up and knew about all these different star maps and things, and they were being interviewed by agencies and discovered that like they could map out what was coming from her head. So it was just kind of neat, all the research he put into getting that right, I thought.
Yes. I mean, I think probably the most interesting thing to me about Close Encounters of the Third Kind as a film in its creation and development is I remember years and years and years ago seeing Spielberg do an interview with oh my god, from inside the actor's studio. What the fuck is his name? You guys, James Lipton. No, you know what I'm talking about?
I was struggling with the name for a moment there.
Yeah, Will Ferrell would play him on Saturday Night Live. He'd have like a stack like this of blue cards when he was like doing the sketches. Let me ask you a question. But in the interview that James Lipton was doing with Steven Spielberg on stage, he said to him essentially, he's like, "Tell us, Mr. Spielberg, was it the fact that your mother was a musician and dancer and your father a mathematician and engineer the reason why you had the humans and aliens communicate through music and math, as though they were very different, but they found similarities in the middle. And Steven Spielberg was like, well, I guess so. I didn't think about it until right now. Which it was such like an honest answer. I was like, you know what? You're my boy, Steve. I get it. He's like, no, but thanks for diving deep into my psyche. Holy shit. But I mean, it was actually quite a good point that he made. And clearly Steven Spielberg hadn't even like gone past the surface of it, but he was like, shh. Yeah, there's probably something to that. I didn't ever think about it before I sat down on the stage, but boy, oh boy, is my therapist going to earn his pay this week.
Dr. Alan Hynek did have a cameo in the movie. He's the one that ran.
He came up with the scale.
Well, he ran Project Blue Book. And, and came up with a scale. Yes,
it's his scale for Close Encounters. I think his was originally it was like 6, and they were subclassified by letter. My dad was super into ufology and what have you, so I kind of got it through osmosis a bit. Like I'm not like really into it. I just don't trust people. It's not that I think they're lying. I just think they're mistaken. You know, I'm not saying it's not a comment on anybody's intelligence, nothing like that whatsoever. We're human beings. We rationalize everything. We have to. It's sometimes the only way our mind can survive anything. And you know, you do it every single time you hear a weird noise in your house at night. You know, if you hear all of a sudden you hear like a you immediately go, oh, that was just like the heater coming on or whatever, you know, like, oh, that's because the wind is hitting right there. You immediately rationalize it. That's what we do. And if there's something that scares us and we can't come up with an immediate, absolutely like verifiable explanation for what that may be, our brain goes to like what we think would be like the next logical thing. Like if it's not this, it's not this. It had to have been aliens. Like maybe, or maybe it wasn't. You know, that's the thing. It's just like Fermi's paradox. You know, I always get the biggest kick out of it. Fermi's paradox was Enrico Fermi, the astronomer. He was having a lunch one day with a bunch of colleagues, and he like half jokingly, like very much a smart ass kind of thing, he just kind of put his stuff down and looked at everyone. And he said, "Where is everyone?" And the paradox is, if there is intelligent life, you know, with all the possibility and probability, math shows like there is every probability that we are not the only intelligent life in the universe. Mm-hmm. But if that's the case, why haven't we come across any empirical, concrete evidence of their existence? And Arthur C. Clarke, the author of 2001: A Space Odyssey and Childhood's End, he said it in a far more succinct and frightening way. And there are two possibilities. Either we are not the only sentient species in the universe, or we are. Both are equally terrifying. You know? So if there's stuff out there, hopefully we align with how they think, and you know, maybe they can help us out and show that maybe a lot of the divisions that we've created amongst us are just fucking absolutely fucking useless and supercilious. Or they'll fucking waste us all in no time flat and then steal all of our precious, precious resources. Change is happening either way. But there's no evidence to really, truly conclude that they exist. So for right now, meh.
Well, there is evidence that something is here.
There is no concrete empirical evidence that intelligent life besides us exists in the universe. Just because people saw shapes moving in the sky and some guy said he saw stuff with no proof that he saw stuff doesn't mean that there was stuff. I'm just saying I'm not saying like I don't want to disbelieve. I'm saying there needs to be evidence. There needs to be incontrovertible, concrete, hard evidence. And we do not have that for intelligent life. That's all.
Well, I'm not saying intelligent life, but I'm saying that
that's what I've been saying the whole time.
Okay.
Is intelligent life. Like literally. Well, I cited it from the get-go, especially with Fermi's paradox and Arthur C. Clarke.
Well, what I'm getting at is there is something weird in the skies. We do have the military video recordings of it with the thermal video, and we do have the testimony from the Navy pilots that flew against it. One was a 40-foot long tic-tac shaped object that flew like nothing else exists, doing like 90-degree turns and going from 80,000 feet down to, sea level within a second.
That's crazy. And this is around the same time that our government was also trying to use soldiers for testing things like LSD, right?
No. This is there was
probably not that.
No, this is two Navy pilots have gone up to the Senate along with David Grush.
I know that's what I was citing when I said that's great that these guys got in front of Senate and said these things, but they just said them. They have no evidence of.
Oh, we have the video.
Yeah. That's not evidence of intelligent life, though. That's all I'm saying. Like intelligent life. That's my go-to, straight up. And also, like, when we have a craft, then we can talk.
Okay.
Then we can talk. What did I say here? I would postulate that we do have evidence of life out there more intelligent than large portions of the human population. I mean, we don't, though. We don't have evidence of that. We don't. There's no empirical, hard, incontrovertible evidence of that. Like for
you may admit that in jest.
I think that was a mocking.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did. I hope so.
With them, so I'm feeling that.
Think about the number of years that people were like, oh, look at the face on Mars. Look at the face on Mars. The face on Mars. Look at that. That's a big thing they carved. And then they finally had shit touch down on Mars and they got all kinds of video. And we actually got much better satellite imaging altogether with new technology. And they were like, oh, it's
pareidolia.
It's a mountain of dirt. It's a big old red dirt mountain that's been there for a long time. And, turns out the pixelated shading made it kind of look like a face. So, there goes that one. But of course, I mean, those are the people that don't want to listen to that are probably the same ones that are like, oh, we faked the first moon landing. Like, all right, I'm sure.
Well, that's called pareidolia. That's where our minds, for survival instincts are meant to like pick out, like faces,
It's right there with rationalization. Like that's exactly what it is. 100%. But even still, like, no, just, like if they find something great, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna personally obsess over it, and not say that anyone who thinks about it is obsessing over it. I don't mean it like that. I just mean for myself. Like I don't pore over anything. If there's something that's substantial that is revealed, that is reported, then yeah, that'll be of massive interest, not just to me, but to many, many, many other people. But until that point, I think a lot of things have to be taken with a grain of salt. It's always good to take seriously the things you hear, but not necessarily believe them straight away, because investigation is always key. Remember I said that.
Hey, Drew.
You got it. I will totally remember you said that, sir.
Good, because I'm not.
All right, wonderful. I've already forgotten it. What were we talking about?
What? Who am I? What year is it?
Oh my God.
Baldur's Gate.
Is Eisenhower still president? What?
The goldfish men have returned. We shall beat them with our short-term memory spans and humanity's nonsensical nature.
I had to explain what the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still was to my wife the other night.
I've met your wife. I can imagine that was funny.
She thought Klaatu Barada Nikto was just the words that Ash said in Army of Darkness.
I mean, if you don't have a reference outside of it.
Okay, it could, you know what? There could be, I don't want to say it could be worse, but she could be, oh, weren't those 3 things? Was that a Teenage Mutant Turtle reference? I was like, it was, but what was it referencing?
I think we were watching like Star Trek Strange New Worlds or something like that too, and like it was something that somebody was watching, and I was just like, that's funny. And she was like, what? I'm like, the day the earth. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. I felt like Zach Morris and Saved by the Bell. Time out. Just put everything on pause and explain it. And then I was like, it's funny to me that I'm explaining this to you as we're watching Star Trek. Like you've jumped in this far with me, lady. Just hold my hand. We're gonna swim in a little deeper. But yeah, like I mean I jump back and forth in time like that on the shit we watch anyway. We were watching the after party from Apple TV for this week's new episode, and it was like it's like the 6th or 7th episode into the season, and I finally looked at the woman playing the mother of Sam Richardson's girlfriend Zoe in it, an Asian actress, and I had seen her at the wedding that takes place in it, and she had her hair up with like, bright red lipstick on. She hadn't really talked much, and I was just like, okay, she's a middle-aged, Asian actress, and the father's played by Ken Jeong from
Nice.
Community and Hangover and stuff. And this episode this week deals with like when they were a little younger, and John Cho plays Ken Jeong's like brother in it, and his wife, she becomes the brother's like dance partner for like a tango thing he was doing or blah blah blah. And without makeup on, I was just kind of like my attention was diverted for a second, and then I heard her speak. And I was like, what the fuck? And Dara was like, what? And I was like, I'm pretty sure that the woman playing the mother here is the same actress from The Guyver with Mark Hamill in it, and also played the girl in feudal Japan when the turtles travel back in time in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Oh my God, what a difference.
And then I see in the closed captionings, she's speaking off screen and says Vivian. And I was like, Vivian? I think that's actually her real name too. I go to the credits on IMDb. I see that she's in it. Her real name is Vivian Wu. And then I click on her filmography. I'm going down, 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 down. Boom, there it is. 32 fucking years ago, she was in The Guyver, based on the anime and manga. And then the very next year, she was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Like, and that's the only other thing I've ever fucking seen her in. And I literally forgot. I forgot like something that we were watching 20 minutes beforehand. Like I could reach 3 decades back and pull that. And then she was like, well, what about 5 minutes ago? I'm like, fuck 5 minutes ago. what happened 5 minutes ago? I got no frame of reference. It was full time dilation.
Just keep on swimming. Keep on swimming.
Don't. Oh, no Finding Dory disease.
He is my squishy, and I will call him my squishy.
So how's everybody doing? It's been a minute. Well, I saw Kari and Leo yesterday. Yo, I haven't seen you since Terrificon, man. You're looking good. You're looking well rested. It's a nice shirt. You know,
Well,
and then
that's funny.
you know, and then Brandon, you're Brandon, and I'm fun enough. I'm wearing
Sounds
your
right.
shirt. You know,
Hashtag
so,
Brandonverse.
hashtag Brandonverse. You know,
You
the
got
best
questions?
of the verses.
I have answers. They may not be the right ones, but I sure as fuck have them.
Oh, your Radio Shack?
Oh God,
No, because I'm still in business.
damn! I almost ended up
that would
working.
really
on
that would
Shack.
really hurt the feelings of Radio Shack if they were
If they had.
around.
The same.
Well,
That's the same way Blockbuster's feelings would be hurt if they
I was
were.
gonna say, are they gonna get together with Blockbuster and gang up on me? Ooh, I'll try not to walk down any dark alleys anytime soon.
Yeah, especially I remember, wasn't there like a moot? They're doing a show about Blockbuster, and I just feel like really, oh, like that show. I'm like, oh man, I'm carbon dating myself. It's like
Yeah, you mean
there was a,
the
there
show
was a,
the show that Netflix canceled like 6 days into it being released?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, oh, we grossly overestimated how much people care about Blockbuster. Really? Is the fact that Blockbuster went out of business so quickly after you guys popped up on the scene not an indicator of that beforehand?
Well, they did a documentary also, right?
The last Blockbuster. Yeah, documentary is far different from the sitcom that they were doing.
Well, they probably use that as, you know, oh, everybody's watching this, so let's make a sitcom about it.
I think
No,
it would have
There's
been
a big giant middle finger. I mean, that's also an option as well.
That could be.
I think
Yeah.
that the show they did would have been better if they had set it in the 90s. If they
yeah,
had done that, it would have been a lot better. You would have been able
100%.
to, you would have been able to really like gear it towards everything that was happening at the time, and then have the inevitable end of the show be them getting closed down because this fandangled new quote streaming service, actually not even streaming, a mail-in service is starting up. I think they're calling it
Right.
like Net Films or something. You know, like
exactly.
hashtag Brandonverse.
And they could just laugh it off, be like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Who wouldn't want to
right?
come here and rent movies? I mean, we've only had
God, I
the
just
same
thought
20
the
movies on the wall for the
dinosaurs.
past 5 years. What?
Exactly. But I think what it is the reason it didn't work is kind of similar reason that Marvel burnout is happening is nostalgia it's a fine-tuned resource, and if you keep tapping that well too much, people are going to get tired of it. You know?
Well, you know what? I think it's not necessarily that the well is going dry and that they're going back to it. It's that they're, and this is the thing I've said for a long time, the term that I use is weaponized nostalgia, where it's not nostalgia born of any true affection or affinity for the source material. It's the affection and affinity for the money that you can make from mining the source material into this new thing that you're saying is like the old thing. People have nostalgia for very specific reasons, personally and broadly. And if everything, there are a lot of things out there that are very sincere in how they approach the stuff with nostalgia. And then there are those other things that weaponize it. I would say a good example of responsible nostalgia being utilized was the movie Barbie. Weaponized nostalgia was the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that came out in like 2013 or whatever it was, 2012, the one that was produced by Michael Bay. That was made only because they were like, yeah, let's make a shitload of money, have lots of pew-pews and explosions, and just have it be action sequence to action sequence. and
Mhm.
completely missing out on the fact that a lot of the reason why people enjoy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles so much isn't because of bombastic action per se, but because of the characters, the brothers, how they relate to one another, and what it is they each bring to the table when they are handed a situation to deal with. If you skip over the first part and only go for the second, why do you care about any of it? And that's exactly what we saw play out with that and its eventual sequel.
Oh, don't
True.
forget Aliens. He wanted to make him Aliens.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about the movie Aliens. I'm like, what?
No,
I was like, first of all, that's actually
Whoa.
that's actually a really solid example for how you can make a big action movie that has like plenty of action and explosions and all that stuff.
And Heart.
But there's focus on character, and that's why you care about what happens. James Cameron is actually very good at that. There's several others that you could probably go down the line and easily pick out as like, hey, this is a big action movie, but the characters came first. If you don't care about the characters, then there's really ultimately nothing that's going to be cared about.
Oh, speaking of Brandon, on the subject of nostalgia, I actually read this really interesting article that a fan was pointing out a small detail from Jurassic Park actually really highlights, not only foreshadows what will happen in the movie, but it also foreshadows that John Hammond is really more of the villain that if you read the book, he is. Because in the movie, he's talking when Gennaro says, and he talks about how he says he hates inspections, how they slow things down and whatnot. And for those who haven't read the book, John Hammond is pretty fucking sleazy in the book. Like, he is a billionaire who just wants to make the quick buck and just sees what he's doing in Jurassic Park as a nice way for wealth and power. And while Richard Attenborough, I believe, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Did fantastic job at making John Hammond quotable and lovely, even when he talks about sparing no expense. Later, you would see
so full of shit.
Right. Later, you would see Dodson talking about Nedry talking to Dodson like, "Don't be cheap," like Hammond. That was Hammond's mistake. So there's all this foreshadowing that, John Hammond, not being kind of cheap, not wanting to do inspections, all that stuff would lead to problems in the park. And I was like, you know what? That's a really strong argument. And again, it was one fan. It's not all these people. I'm like, when you mean all these people, you mean 3, But I was like, you know what? That's the kind of movie that's, Brandon, to your point, that's a good, solid movie, action, ahead of its time, but heart. Like, you can't give a shit about all the characters, and that's why it's still rewatchable after all these years. So
and that is primarily due to Steven Spielberg altogether. Which is arguably one of the things he absolutely brings to all of his projects for the most part. Sometimes he brings a little bit too much of it to his projects, which is also an issue. Not everything needs to be syrupy. And there is a tendency for that to occur in Spielberg stuff. But, I understand like the modern day sort of fairy tale approach to certain things. And it is alluring to end things on a hopeful note. I think that's a large part of the reason why I haven't seen it. I don't care to see it. I'll see it eventually. But from what I'm given to understand, that's probably a large part of the reason why Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny did not do well, because it dialed the nostalgia factor up. Like, oh, look, you love Indiana Jones. We'll slap the name on this movie and you'll go see it. Then they take a character who has always been fairly hopeful. I'm not saying like he's a beacon of hope in the darkness of despair we call the world. But,
right.
I mean, Indiana Jones as a character has always been a fairly hopeful, relatively optimistic character. And from what I understand, it really starts off straight up with like Indy being just kind of beaten down and broken by life.
Yep.
And
You're
I mean,
correct, sir.
I honestly think things like that, which has been happening increasingly in movies and shows, especially ones wrapped around nostalgia. Listen, we go to movies, especially movies, but we consume entertainment such as movies and television shows as a form of escapism. And it's okay to have some darkness in something
Right.
that's designed to be that way. But when you start taking all of these things and sort of bringing them to a deconstructive phase and ultimately changing the point of view of the audience that they once had for this particular character or set of characters, solely because you feel that's just more interesting. If it's not organic, it's not earned, then you deserve to fail because you're not being truthful to your audience.
It's a
And
fair
I
point.
think that's what we're seeing a lot of with, they call like the Marvel bloat and all that. We're not getting the stories where we're allowed to care, grow to care for
Mhm.
these characters. And because of that, and the sheer amount of content that's been thrown our way in just a matter of like 2.5 years, it really leaves all of us in a bit of a tailspin. How am I supposed to care about this? What am I supposed to care about? If everything's important, then none of it is important, right?
Right.
And you find yourself in the sort of like nether sphere where it's like, well, I don't even want to try anymore. They're throwing everything at me, and I don't know why I care about anybody now. Secret Invasion. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm also an old school comic geek, so I didn't mind it. I can burn through fucking filler issues with the best of them,
Right.
and that's a little bit of what Secret Invasion was.
Filler.
But they took Nick Fury, who's always been a badass and clearly was getting stuff handled left and right, even behind the scenes. We didn't need to know every detail, but like
we knew.
that's Nick Fury.
Right.
And what do we get in Secret Invasion right off the bat? Old, broken, beaten down Nick Fury, who's just trying to deal with the shittiest stuff imaginable at that point in time in his life on Earth. And
Right.
it's his responsibility. Why don't you call them the Avengers? Because this is my problem. Oh, okay. Probably also didn't want them to know that you scraped all their fucking DNA off the end game battlefield.
Yeah, we're not
And-
gonna.
But then, like, he's like, it's my problem. I'm going to deal with it. And then all the shit goes down, and it's an even worse scene from what it was at the very beginning of the show. And Nick Fury was like, yeah, wow, that's all really fucked up. Well, gotta go. And then just leaves. He leaves.
Mhm.
What the fuck, dude? I thought you were taking care of this. My job here is done. Whoa, is it Zap? What the fuck? It was very, very perplexing
Well-
to say the least.
Well, I have to say, I think what really comes down to, like, if we're talking about Marvel movies, for me, it's just the surplus is that you no longer feel the necessity to watch everything for it to all make sense. Like, it's become what modern day comics are now to me. You pick and choose. You pick what really catches your eye, and it wasn't like before where it's like you've not only felt compelled to. Like, you had to. It's like, oh, I have to watch this because this will fill in, and then everything from now. It's just so much that I feel like I'm in a comic store. I'm just browsing,
Well,
and if I see something, I pick it up.
Yeah, you're definitely right, and that's because, especially at that point in time when everything was building towards a crescendo with the end of what became known as the Infinity Saga, I don't
Mhm.
think that because we reached the end of what can be considered a long-term arc, that means that, oh, it's just all fucking downhill from here. I don't think that's necessarily true. But what happens is you start adding in a bunch of stuff that doesn't. You can only do this so many times before the audience becomes savvy, whether they realize it or not. And what Disney has done is they've diluted the brand of Marvel and Lucasfilm with Star Wars. They the same
Yeah.
thing with both.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because the things that came out before, they realized like, hey, this is a piece of the puzzle that we're
Mhm.
putting together. And you really should see it so you get the full picture. But if you don't, you might be okay, in all honesty. But we got past that point and they started making things just to make them.
Right.
Like, I know that there are a lot of people that were super pumped about the fact that they finally were making a Moon Knight show or anything. That's fine. It was okay. But why? Why was it made? Is Moon Knight going to be part of everything that we're seeing?
Right.
There's no indication of that whatsoever. Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, they actually made sense. I get it, because you're setting up who's going to be coming in for the younger generation.
Right.
She-Hulk, I liked it, but why did it need to be made then? And certainly I dug on the meta thing they did with the Kevin bot in it, but I feel like that's something they probably should have waited on. And they blew their wad. And also, because they overtaxed VFX artists, a lot of the show ended up having that uncanny valley deal. I think the best example of them not having a plan whatsoever for a character and then saying like, oh, well, they seem to be pretty popular, so I guess we'll make a whole thing for them,
Eternals.
is Agatha Coven of Chaos.
Oh,
I
okay.
love Katherine Hahn. I think she is an incredibly talented actress. She is funny as fuck. Her timing and her delivery, just beautiful.
Right.
But I think Disney is conflating people getting a kick out of her reveal and the big song of her reveal with, oh, she's an incredibly popular character now and she deserves to have her own 6-episode series.
Right.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's gonna be particularly good. It's not gonna necessarily tie into anything, and it's gonna be one of those like final, like it's gonna hammer home to them like, oh, we need to stop doing this shit, because they clearly have started to think that now with comments from Bob Iger, especially,
Right.
getting pointed to that. So, hopefully they tighten up, and with everything we're seeing getting developed from the DC studio side of things, it's good to have healthy competition. Competition is what helps you grow.
Right.
And with what Kevin Feige has said over the years, like, I always want those movies to do great. I love those characters myself. I grew up reading them. I'm a comic book nerd.
Right.
And there is nothing that gives me greater pleasure than seeing comic book superheroes up on the screen. So I really wish them the best of luck. I wanted to do well.
Right.
That's the right move, because how do you benchmark yourself if there's nothing else out there that you can compare what you're doing to?
Well, and it's funny but I also feel like the oversaturation is not just kind of affecting comic book movies in general, but I also feel like, I hate to say it, it's affecting other movies, because like other movies in different genres, because they feel that because they're not pulling in Marvel or DC numbers, they feel they can't compete. And for me, I'm like, again, I don't mind a good comic book movie, and I especially like looking back at when there weren't one every 4 months, when there was a bit more spread out, because like you said, the pool was not as diluted, it was a little bit more pure. For me, it's like, I remember going to see a movie every week. It didn't matter what. I remember just going to a movie, paying $7, whatever was there, I saw it. And if it was fine, it was fine. If it was awesome, yay, great, whatever. But now it's just too much.
Couldn't be bothered. Yeah. Well, the issue with how the audiences are perceiving it is, and this is the most succinct way I can put it towards the studios, because obviously they listen to me,
right?
Would
Obviously.
be if you strive to make every single movie that you release a blockbuster, okay, but you need to realize that much sooner rather than later, there will be no more block left to bust.
That's very
You know,
succinct.
people will absolutely go see something that looks awesome and mindless and explosiony and pew-pewy. But
Right.
you have to balance that out with other things. You know, there's a reason why a lot of those were called tent pole pictures. They would be the big movie that a studio would put out during the summer, one a year, and then the rest of the studio would revolve around what was being done there. And insofar as the budgets, and that's what dictates whether or not these are profitable. The biggest thing, especially with Disney, because they're the biggest perpetrators, it's reshoots. They get cold feet. How many times, think about it, how many times have we heard DC? I mean, Warner Brothers is not innocent of this either. I mean, they did that with Justice League,
right,
with Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon. But Marvel does it consistently, in Disney, I should say, because they did it even with Solo in Star Wars for Lucasfilm. Lord and Miller shot like 80% of the movie, and then they got cold feet on what the movie was they were making. They fired them, and then they brought in Ron Howard to reshoot like 70% of what they did according to the story they wanted to see told.
Ugh.
And it tacked on like $100 million to their budget. And it's the same thing that happens with all these Marvel productions. They keep coming up with a story and then deciding to change it on the fly, or we need to shoot this, we need to shoot that. And that's fine. Reshoots are common, but it's usually like a dialogue scene that makes sense of something else that happens somewhere along the movie. It's a bridge. But they're coming up with entirely new sequences, and that's a part of the reason why they've been burning out VFX studios and artists, because they give low bids to try to get the job, and then they fucking throw shit at them that was not budgeted for whatsoever at the top of the entire thing. And because they have no unionization and no representation, they've been getting fucking ground into dust by Disney.
Right.
You know, and the overall quality of these projects suffers because no one's vision is followed through from beginning to end. They change their minds, and then the actual execution of it looks to be subpar because a VFX studio that thought they were going to have 6 months to work on 2,000 VFX shots now has the last month and a half since the reshoot was done to work on an additional 2,000.
And to perfect example of something kind of looping everything you've talked about, Brandon, into one perfect thing, is that the best example of something that balances nostalgia with a good story, good characterization, action, and everything was, and it's not a superhero movie, was Top Gun Maverick. You know, that comes in, and it's everything, and it's practical effects. You've got, Tom Cruise is back. You have Val Kilmer. You got all these new characters, and it hits all the right notes, but it's still a great story. It hits all of the good beats, and I went into that with really low expectations, not because anything. I was just like, okay, this is a sequel. This can be greater, and I was really impressed. Like I was like, wow, that was a great movie, and I would totally own that, and I've rewatched it, and it's just something different.
But here's the thing, like it's something that's applicable to all movies, not just anything that tries to jump back on nostalgia or sequelization. Because a really solid example of being able to get good characterization across but still having all that badassery you would love to see, like the extreme, cool guy shit, whether or not you got like an awesome like femme fatale or just like a quiet but strong tough guy. I think a solid, incredibly solid example of that is John Wick, the first John Wick, where you cared about everything that happened in that movie, the way they set it up, and then everything that happens in that flick is so fucking dope. And then you get to the end of it, He gets a new dog that he saves from being put down, and
Right.
he walks off into the night having gotten the revenge he was seeking. That's perfect. That is 100% a perfect movie. And audiences showed up for it. They loved it. But then they felt, oh, well, we just need to grind it out. And they gave what, 3 fucking sequels to it?
Yes. And now a tie-in, and now a prequel, and now
Yeah.
a prequel series on Peacock.
They can't leave well enough alone. They cannot leave well enough alone. Like, the more you do that, the less room you leave for new original ideas that, you know, will spark other people's enthusiasm and imagination. And we need new stuff. It's great that we have things like Star Wars and Marvel and what have you to fall back on. But what made those things special was they felt like an event for so long a time because they were.
Mhm.
And then they turned them commonplace. And it's completely diluted our expectations and what those brands used to represent. It needs to stop. It really does. There just needs to be a centralization. If DC's going to continue doing, Disney Plus is going to continue doing their shit, they need to have like those one-shot type specials like they did with Werewolf by Night. And
That was
if you're going to have a series, really look at the story you have. Is it something that needs to be 6 to 8 episodes, or is it something that needs to be 4? If it's 4,
Right.
that's fine. You can still have a 4 episode limited series,
Right.
but have it make sense. Don't do it just to do it. Like, that's the reason that you want people to tune in, because it is important to the story you're telling, not important to our bottom fucking line. Audiences start to feel when things are a cash grab. Toy Story 5, who the fuck is going to see that? That feels like a cash grab. Lightyear felt like a cash grab. You know who saw that? Fucking no one.
It's true.
You know, you keep doing that shit over and over again. It's a matter of like Inside Out 2. Oh man, yeah, we need that. Like I need another fucking hole in the head.
Oh my God, they're doing a second one?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's ridiculous. It's the death of ideas altogether. It's just about the bottom line.
Also, Yo-Yo, I totally thought you fell asleep at one point, my man.
Nope.
Like I
was
was
like,
like,
yeah, well, if you guys weren't boring me to fucking death.
no, it just because he was just looking down. I thought he fell asleep with his headphones on. I was like, Yo-Yo, wake up, we're still recording. But then you moved. I'm like, oh, okay. He's just.
He was like, no, I'm just praying that one of the both of you will shut the fuck up.
I was thinking that more for Leo, but Leo's too nice about it. He's like, no, I'm sitting here listening to the conversation. I think you guys got a lot of good points.
Speaking of sleep, we still have another show to record, so we're gonna wrap things up.
Real quick, Leo, hold on.
Yeah.
Kari, you did say something I couldn't hear.
Oh, I was just saying in the same thing with the horror industry, they're getting ready to reboot Nightmare on Elm Street again, and it's like, you know what? Okay, DC just came out with this character called Insomniac. There's been the Sandman. You can come up with a lot of different ways if you want to have something where you have a monster infecting people's dreams that isn't the same fucking one.
You know
And
something?
giving him a new backstory again. I mean,
I actually feel like the remake could have been really good if, like, for a couple of reasons that they didn't do. One of them primarily was if they had just stuck to their guns. If they had actually made it so that the kids had lied about Freddy the way they made it seem throughout that entire movie, and he was wrongfully killed
Right.
by the parents on Elm Street,
It would have been great.
That would have been such a complete like turn on its ear moment, and honestly, from my mind, would make a lot more sense as to why Freddy would come back for revenge. Because he is a tortured soul. Like, he got blamed and killed for something he didn't actually do. Like, that would have been amazing. And it seems like that was the original idea, and they fucking pussied out. And we're like, no, we have to have him be like a kid killer or whatever. And that was that, you know, like, you know, if they do a remake, you know, I hope it's good. I love the original. It's like my touchstone horror series as a kid. I have a deep affinity for it. But, you know, we're always going to see people trying to reinvent the wheel, as it were, with things that have already existed. There's nothing new under the sun. All we can hope is that whoever approaches it, they love it as much as every other fan out there, and they love it for the right reasons. They love it for the character, they love it for the story, the execution, the darkness and fun of it. They don't turn Freddy into a fucking cartoon character like they did by the end of that series. Get back to basics. I think if you really want to get an idea for how to approach Freddy Krueger, look at parts 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I refer to them as the Thompson trilogy, because the first movie is straight up guy gets killed. He comes back to kill the kids of the people that killed him in their dreams. Part 2, I appreciate the fuck out of, because they said, all right, well, we're making a sequel, but let's make it different. It's not a guy haunting the dreams. It's a ghost story, a haunted house story, and a body possession story.
In the same movie.
In the same movie. And then the third movie is the return of the heroine from the first, and we get to see her demise, but ultimately, in that point, Freddy gets killed. The villain gets killed as well. So it's a Pyrrhic victory.
Right.
And if you ended it there, not a problem.
But then the fourth one absolutely negates that sacrifice by bringing him back.
Yeah, and that's when we really start to see the cartoonish elements come through. He goes from being Freddy Krueger to Bugs Bunny, and I'm all set with that. It's the same thing as taking Indiana Jones as a strong, hopeful force for good in all of his other movies.
And then he's an old man in a jacket.
He's a beaten old man who just, life has done to him what Nazis couldn't. And that's Disney's Indiana Jones, kids. Like, thanks, I think. But anyway, I digress. Leo, let's outro.
We'll wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. You know me. Just Google me. You'll find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but I run the Dorkening Podcast Network. Head on over to thedorkening.com. You can learn more. I do a bunch of stuff during the week. On Tuesdays, you can find me over at Splash Pages. Definitely check our YouTube channel and our website as well. These guys are going to tell you some other stuff. And Drew.
Hey, everybody.
I saw you
totally
there.
wasn't planned, and I do love mimicking Leo because he sometimes says the same 7 lines in a row. But I'm typically on Splash Pages. If you haven't checked us out, we're a bunch of Ford nerds, and sometimes Kari and other people who just talk about things and comic books, and we talk to people, and we're mildly entertaining, but only slightly. But I'm also on Facebook, Ghostbusterman 1984, on Instagram, and Leo likes to always end the episode with jackass. And I also do things at Screen Rant. So check me out. I might respond. Who cares? Good night.
That was Ghostbuster Man 1984.
Shut up. Moving on.
Yo.
Yo Saint Laurent on Instagram and Thread. That's where you'll find me.
Awesome.
He's so well dressed.
Powerful Brandon.
So is that guy.
Hey. Hey everyone. I'm Powerful Brandon, also known as Brandon Powers. You can find me several different places here at the Dorkening Podcast Network. I do this every Wednesday at 9 p.m. with these clowns. I do get a fat kick out of Drew saying that they're mildly entertaining over there. I mean, I agree. Like, if you were going to give it a spice level, like mild, less than mild. If they were a spice, they'd be flour. But in all honesty, Splash Pages is great. You guys should all check them out. Leo and I do a couple of podcasts. They switch off bi-weekly, one week, one another. The first is the Dork Night, which Leo, myself, and our good friend Justin Cooper talk about all things Batman. Leo and Justin are huge Batman fans, and I am a guy they asked to be on their Batman podcast.
Big mistake.
No, it works out well, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know about this one, guys. And like, yeah, I guess we can't just say because he's Batman. And the other one is Comics Paradox, which the three of us, we talk about all kinds of alternate reality comic tales and takes on different characters and situations that you may already be familiar with. Things like DC's Elseworlds, Marvel's What Ifs, and as well as different story arcs like Marvel's X-Men Age of Apocalypse, or DC's Armageddon 2001. I actually recently started a website for it, so you can check that out at www.comicsparadox.com. That's COMIXPARADOX.com. And like I said, every other Sunday, either one of those, wherever fine podcast or broadcast. And if you feel so inclined, come check me out. I'm on Instagram at this Brandon Has Powers. You can also check out Comics Paradox Podcast at Comics Paradox Podcast on Instagram, and head on over to Facebook and check out Powers Combined, just a consortium of dorks that like to share info, news, memes, jokes, good times, and laughs to be had by all. Our number one rule there is don't be a jerk. If you do that, we will boot you immediately. Otherwise, have a good night. Thanks, everyone.
Kari.
Hey everybody, when I am not hanging out with these wonderful, lovely gents on the Dorkening, you can catch me over at the Owlite Society. Well, that's one of our shows, the Owlite Network. We do a lot of storytelling type of podcasts. Just look at Kari Sanders on Facebook, and if you see a crow, that's me. All of my links are there. And one thing that Brandon had not mentioned about himself is hopefully by next week I will be able to show you the first t-shirt that he has gotten up with his merch on the Comics Paradox. So
Hey.
Oh yeah, that's right. If you search
Yeah.
Comics Paradox Podcast on TeePublic, you'll find the shirts and stuff that I made, and I think they came out pretty well. Leo put together a really great logo that we use for the show. My one stipulation was, you take that fucking background off, Leo, and he did.
He did. He listens.
And I was able to put it on the shirt. I think it came out really sharp. I have one. My wife has one on the way. I got myself a mug. I got like 4 magnets. I think I'm gonna throw one on the back of my car. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. And yeah, just go check that out. But also the podcast itself, comicsparadox.com. You can find that and a whole lot more at the Dorkening Podcast Network.com as well.
There we go.
like,
Catch you then.
subscribe.
To manage your annual music subscription, please go to your Amazon Music settings on the web.
Yeah, that's right. Listen to the disembodied voice.